Ladies and gentlemen, here we are again on Hudson County Review Live. I am your enigmatic, diplomatic, charismatic host, John R. Heides, and today we are joined with Hudson County Executive Tom DeGise. Tom, it's great to have you.
Enigmatic, diplomatic, that's pretty good.
Thank you. So, Tom, obviously, we're here today to talk about a number of county issues and governmental things, but the main thing on a lot of people's mind is this so-called Civil War. So, during this snowstorm about a week and a half ago, you obviously met up with Mayor Fulop and Senator Stack, and I'm going to imagine you were pretty surprised about what took place that day.
I walked into an ambush, John. The fact that they had called me up and my chief of staff and asked us if we could be at the coach house at 2 o'clock, and they're wondering, it's the middle of a storm, why are we going here? But it wasn't totally by surprise, because we met frequently. I've been meeting with Brian probably once a month for 5, 6, 7 years now. And same thing with Stephen. We had, sometimes it would be the three of us together, sometimes just me and one of them. But they were very common. They were informal. We would talk a little politics, a little government, a little baseball, little girls, whatever. And it kind of cemented the personal relationships between the two of us, or the three of us. And so I went there expecting, they ran out of salt, or something governmental there. But when I got there, they offered me a cup of coffee, which I accepted, and sat down and immediately said, we want to make a change. We want to change in direction. I said, what are you talking about? We're not going to back you next year. We want to change. I said, well, what happened, And we had met the same 5 guys, because Mark Albies was also there. The same 5 guys had met in a bakery for coffee and cake about 2 weeks previous to that. And at the end of the meeting, there was no discussion of what we're going to be talking about today. But at the end of the meeting, Brian grabbed me by the arm and said, as he did maybe 100 times, he goes, Tommy, you got to run. He goes, if you don't run, there's going to be a big fight here. I don't want to spend the money. I don't want any more bloodshed. I like it. It's peaceful and everything. 2 weeks before, he lowered the boom. So I looked at Brian and I said, Brian, 2 weeks ago you told me, you urged me that I had to run. And I said that I would. He just said, things change. That way. But the more interesting thing, the coach house is probably a quarter of a mile from where I live. I live right on the other side of the Sirius City side of Washington Park.
All right.
And so after that, we stayed away from how those meetings usually end with 2 words there. And I thanked them for the coffee, got up and went home. And by the time I got home, and again, it's a quarter of a mile away, it couldn't be more than 3-4 minutes, I'm taking off my coat, telling my wife what had happened, and my phone rings. My cell phone rings, and they say, hey, Tommy, is this Tom DeGise? Yes, it is. He goes, this is David Wildstein. And I said, the David Wildstein of Rich Kid fame? And he goes, yeah, he laughed a little bit. He goes, yeah. And I said, how can I help you, David? And he said, I just received a few minutes ago a press release from Fulop and from Stack saying that they would not be supporting you. Within 5 minutes of the meeting, they had a press release out, and it dawned on me, they had it all set up. It was, they had it in their back pocket, and they just decided that, they would Shanghai me by inviting me to, out for a cup of coffee and laying the lumber to me.
So it was just a formality.
They had already done it already, So no reason was given, and even now, when I saw the interview you did with those 2 guys and read, their statements, not once did I hear them say, well, Tom isn't doing that, or Tom screwed us on this one, because I've spent 15 years here working with mayors and not screwing anybody, including those 2. Those 2 are 2 of the neediest mayors of the 12. Nobody called me more looking for a favor than those 2 guys. And so, it is what it is. It's a power grab on those two parts. Everybody since then is asking me, like, why did they do this? And there was no reason given. But, with a guy like Stephen, 2 years ago, he was running for governor, and we were all behind him. He had the support of me and all of the other mayors there, all of the other electeds, and I went to some of his affairs. He had considerable support in Passaic, Bergen, and that, and he dropped out. Nobody really knows why he did. Last year, it was the Senate seat where he started his maneuvering in case things didn't go well for Senator Menendez. Stephen was there to save us with that, and he started making his move in that direction. That didn't work out too well there. So this year, he's looking to be the king of Hudson County. I heard next year he's thinking about Pope there. But this is just a power play. You would think with the reval that he screwed up, that he would be spending more time on the government part of his job, rather than getting involved in politics. And you I'm sure remember that in 2001 I ran for mayor of Jersey City and lost to Glenn Cunningham. Being mayor of Jersey City was always my dream job. It was what I wanted to do. It was what I was aiming to do. And if I had become mayor, I wouldn't have wanted to go anywhere. He's using the mayor's job just as a stepping stone to that. If you remember, you're a young guy, Rebel Without a Cause, and somebody asked Marlon Brando what they were revolting against.
I'm familiar with the film.
And he said, what do you got there? And that's basically Stephen there. Whatever's there, he's ready, to jump into.
Well, Tom, you said a lot of valuable context there that I think a lot of people have not been familiarized with yet. So let me rewind for just a moment, though. Obviously, you're aware I had the mayor on last week, and I asked him point blank, why the change, and he said something to the effect of, I'm just paraphrasing, it's time for fresh blood. We feel like things were getting a little stagnant. And he also said that at one point you said you weren't running for re-election.
That's a lie. But I'll tell you the whole truth on that, if you give me a minute to do it.
Of course.
About 2 or 3 years ago, people started asking me, was I running for another term? And I said, it's way too soon, for me to decide that. I got a lot of work to do here. I'm going to wait a little bit. I didn't give him a definitive yes. When that happened, the mayors in mass came to me and asked me to run. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, I'll get a whole battery of physical tests with my doctor. Make sure that my health is good and that I go through a campaign and serve another 4 years. I did. I had stress tests, colonoscopy, had prostate, went through the whole battery. And the doctor said, you ought to lose about 10, 15 pounds, like that. Other than that, you're doing pretty good. Then
Not so bad.
I'm satisfied with that, I said I have to talk to my wife and my 2 daughters. This is always a family effort. You put your family through a lot there. I want them, to sign off on it also. Karen, signed off immediately, and my daughters have been doing this for a long time, and they gave me the okay. And for the last year, I've told everybody that'll listen, I'm running. There was a period a couple of years ago, and I never said I wasn't running. I said, it's too early. I was like 1 year into my
This was like
term.
2015.
And I'm saying, I said, well, why do I got to say that now? I'm 67 years old. I feel really good. I enjoy the work, but, I could also, the option of retiring, and I'm a teacher, a retired teacher. I have a pension from there. You could at least consider it, that maybe it's time there. I did for a while like there, but I never told him or anybody else that I wasn't running, so it was a lie.
Gotcha. So he also said he's not going to be the candidate that runs against you. Has anyone given you any sort of inclination of who the candidate will be?
I asked him before I left the coffee that they bought me there. I asked him, who are you going to run? Other than me. We haven't made that decision. And even through the grapevine, there have been a number of names that have surfaced as possibilities and stuff like that. But I think that might have been the only true thing they said to me that day, when that they don't have a candidate. They just wanted me out of the way. And so maybe they do, but I'm not going to name any names because I think that it will brand people to be part of this deceit and treachery if they're part of it. And so I'm not going to throw their names out there at this point, because they haven't done that yet. So I don't really know. Whoever it will be a straw dog for Stephen. I don't plan on campaigning against that person. I plan on campaigning against Stephen. I'm a Jersey City guy, and I think you could verify for me that I have a reputation of being a pretty good guy. I get along with everybody. I find ways of getting things done without pissing them off. And I'm smiling. If I heard a good joke, you'll hear it.
It's tough to do around
I love
here.
talking basketball and baseball and everything. But I am a Jersey City guy. I am a city guy. And when challenged, I will answer that challenge. He's about to see the city boy, Tom DeGise, now. Not the one that has tried to help him every step in his career. There is far more shame in turning down an invitation to fight than there is fighting and losing here. So, the city boy in me is up to the challenge of them trying to bully me. That isn't going to happen. Again, no shame in losing. Anytime you run for office, you understand in your mind you could lose, and I've lost. I told you I lost to Glenn Cunningham.
Sure.
There. So that doesn't scare me at all. But if I were to walk away sheepishly and just let them, take it over and everything, I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror.
So in short, you can't envision a scenario where you drop out of this thing?
No, not gonna happen on that. The city boy in me would not allow it. I marched in the St. Patrick's Day parade in Jersey City last week on Sunday, and had to be a couple hundred people came up to me, slapped me on the back, saying, "We got your back. Kick his ass. We're with you, Tom. This is Jersey City's last stand against the interloper that is trying to use us for his own political advantage and career there." So I'll grant you a couple hundred people aren't going to be enough to win this election there, but I think Stephen may run into a tidal wave of Jersey City sentiment. Jerry Healy was defeated, Billy Gorham died, Peter Brennan was defeated. I'm like the last vestige of the senior leadership here, and this is their way, or Stephen's way, of saying it's our town now. We're taking over here, and we don't need to coalesce with the longtime residents. I've lived here for 67 years. I've never lived in a different zip code than 07307. I went to St. Paul Lacrosse Grammar School. So did my father. So did my children go there. And I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not giving up my town without a fight. And I think I could take it down into any neighborhood in Jersey City and tell them here that maybe we ought to put aside some of the old fights that we used to have and band together and save this city from a total takeover from a guy that is just using us. And I think that we could go back to fighting afterwards there, but let's save ourselves here, that we're still a factor politically and socially in Jersey City. So that, I think, will be received well. If it isn't, I'll walk away with pride.
All right, I see you've given this a little thought in the past week and a half.
And I'm very proud of myself. My daughter was here a little while ago, and she told me, don't drop any F-bombs. And so far, I've done pretty good.
So far, so good. Knock on wood. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's not over yet.
So we've talked a lot about the Jersey City end of this. Let's talk a little about Senator Stack. He did a Facebook post about a week ago, 5-6 days ago, and he made an allegation that again the office is getting stagnant. It's time for fresh blood. But he also made an insinuation there that there's not a lot of diversity in this county, and it's time to represent our Hispanic and our African-American population better.
I knew you were asked that, and if you didn't, I would have answered it anyway. Okay. In this room here, this conference room, I meet once a week with my senior staff, the cabinet level people, about 8 to 10 people there. In charge of the whole thing is Abe Anton, a Dominican from Union City. The second, under that, you'll find the director of finance, Cheryl Fuller, an Afro-American woman. I have 3 black women in my cabinet. Now, I didn't select them because they were black women. I selected them, DeGise Toone, Michelle Richardson, because they're very capable. But I got 3 black there. I have 3 Latinos with Abe and Benny Lopez and Oscar Avias that also are here. So, I think it kind of ridiculous for Brian or Stephen at this point to talk about, diversity. I mean, one of them is an Irish kid, the other one's a Jewish kid. Why are they starting with me that they have to do it, it was totally disingenuous. I think that it was Brian trying to figure out something to say as to why he stabbed me in the back. There. And so diversity plays real well, in Union City there. So you don't have to prove it. All you have to do is say it. But there is absolutely no truth for it, and the accusation is laughable.
So for the North Hudson perspective, a lot of people are looking at this as another chapter in the long-standing war, I guess if you want to call it that, between Senator Stack and Senator Sacco. Obviously, they're on opposite sides again. Senator Sacco is backing your re-election, and a lot of people think this is Mayor Fulop and Senator Stack trying to basically push Senator Sacco out of the county power sphere, I guess you could call it. What do you think of that perspective?
It's absolutely true. Why wasn't he? He's one of the major power brokers here. He's also one of the major mayors of one of the bigger towns and everything. He wasn't consulted, about the move that they were about to put on me. Nor was Menendez, nor was Alvio Ceres. All of us were taken by surprise in that. So it is. Obviously, it is. It's a renewal of the war of 2007. The sides are just about the same there. But you can't lay this one on Nick. A couple of months ago, Brian made the rounds of me, Nick, Vinny, and some of the other leadership in the party and said that he wanted to be Hudson County Democratic Chairman.
Yes.
And all of us said the same thing. Okay. If you want to be that, that's okay. And so he was on schedule to be the Hudson County Democratic Chairman, and he gets that bloodlessly. There, we all conceded it. You probably talked about it, or people wrote about it. It was a fact there, and rather than do it peacefully, he's decided to knock down the wall. And when he did this, he had to know how much it was going to affect Mayor Sacco. He had to know how much it would affect Alvio Ceres. He had to know, or should have known, how much it affected Bob Menendez here. So there was no consultations at all. This was just 2 guys, one that couldn't wait a couple months to become chairman, that were trying to grab power. And they did it with a sneak attack. While I was the guy in front catching the arrows, behind me was an Exec, and they knew that. And they knew that and decided to go ahead with it anyway. It's my job over the next year and a half to make them pay for doing that.
So the latest development obviously has 2 sides now between the HCDO, and it doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon. So do you or Senator Sacco or anyone else have intentions to run someone against Brian Stack for the HCDO chairmanship?
I don't think so. I think that they probably have enough committee people to win, only because we didn't know we were in a fight. So last year when Mayor Fulop and Mayor Stack, put their committee slates in, we accepted them. As we did for Harrison and Bayonne and all of the other towns. So we didn't know they were lining up massing troops at the border. Otherwise we could have done it. So, I don't really know whether or not that'll be peaceful or not, but we're wading into fights that we can win. And I'm not sure if that's one of them or not. And so we'll see. We'll see on that.
All right, fair enough. And now, we've talked about Senator Menendez in passing a little bit today. Is there any doubt in your mind that he'll be backing your candidacy?
No.
Okay. So you're pretty confident that he'll be on the team of Sacco and Albio Series and others?
He'll be on the side of keeping Hudson County united so that when he faces an election in November of national and state importance, that Hudson County, the bastion of Democratic politics in New Jersey, will be 100% behind him. He doesn't need resources and fighting. That doesn't concern him there. And I think that he will insist that this party stay together for him. And he's a friend of mine. And I second that motion there. What Smokey Robinson said, second that emotion.
Got it.
There, but no.
And I'm sure you guys have had at least a conversation about this. I mean, what's his take on this whole scenario?
One thing, I'm not speaking for a United States senator, especially, Senator Menendez. I'll just say that we have talked. Okay, but he's real good at doing his own talking for himself, so.
Okay, that's a fair statement to make, I think. So let's talk a little bit about the government side of this. Obviously, people are making these allegations that the office is getting a little stagnant, one foot's out the door, and other things along those lines, cliches.
Yeah, no fire in the belly.
Yes, that was a popular one. Yeah. What's your reaction to that? What do you think on your record? Do you think you really have a strong leg to stand on?
Well, in the record, or you want to talk about accomplishments, I could do that. The 5 new college buildings that we built since my time here, including a complete campus on the boulevard in Union City. They're a brand new high school out in Secaucus that's going to be the best high school in the state, high-tech, and the renovation of County Prep there. New parks in Guttenberg, Bayonne, Jersey City, Secaucus that we built, a new golf course that we built. And I think, one of the things that you got to remember is when I took office here in 2002, this place was a mess. Bob Januszewski was testifying against other people. This whole thing was racked with scandal. And I always thought that one of the reasons the mayors chose me, to succeed Bob Januszewski, is that they knew that they were getting an honest guy, they were getting a straight guy, they were getting a guy that wasn't going to be bombastic and cause problems from within the party. So this is what they're talking about, especially Stephen, is a difference in styles. I never try to get my picture in the paper every day. I'm a backbencher by nature. I'm glad to work with the different mayors and let them have all the credit in the world and just take satisfaction for getting the job done. Stephen's the type of guy that walks into a room and starts looking for microphones and cameras. He understands that, he has bigger plans in store for himself, the young man does. And so he's all over. So what he does it his way, and I do it my way. And what has he built? What investments has he made in infrastructure? The 14th Street Viaduct that connects Hoboken with Jersey City has been the biggest DPW endeavor in county history. $57 million of federal money that came in through Bob Menendez and Albio Series. We built that there. What has Stephen done? What has he built other than just pumping up his own career and photo op opportunities? of these, he can't point to anything that he's been able to construct here.
All right. I feel like you thought about that one a little bit too.
Yeah, no, I can read. I can read, and I read that, so I'm, perfectly comfortable in putting my record up. And we have the largest one right across the street from now, where we are obligated to build a new courthouse.
Yes.
It will be by far the biggest job that the county has ever tried to take on. We've already, if you look across the street on your way out of here today, you'll see all that vacant land. We're ready to go. And I want to be the one to oversee that. This isn't going to be an easy project, and it's going to be a very expensive one. You don't need a rookie coming in there saying, well, what do we do next here? You have a steady hand, somebody that with a proven record of being able to work with people, to work with Judge Bariso in the judiciary, and we're going to build something that all of us can be proud with. When I got here, when I got to this job, we owned nothing, the county did. We rented space for voting machines for our welfare offices. We don't rent a thing anymore. We made investments in Block Drug and Goodman Furniture and other places, and converted vacant buildings into usable things for the community in there. I could point to a whole lot, and he points to, his runs for governor and his executive orders that kind of bring the reporters around, but really don't do a damn thing there. So, he wants to swap resumes here. I'm on the NJTPA, North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority.
Yes.
Past chairman, senior member of the group right now. 13 counties get ex officio seats for elected officials to participate. All the northern counties, and 2 Class A cities, Newark and Jersey City, also get seats at the table there. I've been on the board for about 15 years. I might have missed 4 or 5 meetings over that period of time. Stephen has yet to go to one there. His name is on the placard. That's very, very important there. Who represents Jersey City? It's Stephen Fulop. There hasn't gone to one meeting, and I never brought that up because I was carrying the water for Jersey City. I'm a Jersey City guy. So when they needed money for a study for the extension of the light rail up from Claremont Avenue over Route 40, I did that. And we just voted on about a month or 2 ago a $5 million grant for an EIS, an environmental impact statement. And I did that. And it's not a county project, it's a city project there. But because he's not there to carry his own weight, I've been doing that. And I will continue to do that. I'm not going to hold Jersey City. I'm more Jersey City in my pinky than he is throughout his body. So, I don't mind doing it, but I'm going to stop pointing out some of the areas where Stephen has been lacking.
I see that. So, talking about the courthouse, do we have an estimated cost? I think you said you wanted to break ground in 2021. Was that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're still accumulating land. There's some street closures and street openings that got to happen before that, and we'll need the cooperation of the city to do it because they're city streets, not county roads, for that. Estimate for that could be anywhere from $250. I'm not talking thousands, I'm talking millions.
Sure.
On that. And unfortunately, like with the school out in Secaucus, which was about a $150 million project, a little north of that, but not much, the state covers over 60% of our debt service with that because of the amount of Abbott kids that are in the school. And we're selling the old property off of Tunnelly Avenue there to the city of North Bergen. And they'll utilize the school, and that'll be in the area of about $20 million. So we're getting aid with that. With the courthouse, there is no such, available funds, to cover that.
So it's just a heavy
We've tried to time it, and we have timed it so that we know what our debt schedule when they'll be rolling off there. And so we've timed things, the bond issues, so that when we bond for one thing, something else is falling off. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it's not going to be expensive because I just told you it is going to be expensive. But I'll know how, with my staff, how to space it out so that the impact is minimized. I went around to all the parks within the last 2 weeks with the freeholders that represent that area, and I made a case to them and told them that anything goes wrong within the parks, anything's broken, tennis courts, dog runs or whatever, we'll maintain them like we always have, and we have the best parks in the county. But I asked each of them to put off any new initiatives, which are more expensive, until we get through the financing for the for the courthouse. So there's a strategy that we're doing, and again, to bring a rookie in here at this point, and try to hit the ground running with that, and there may even be opposition to it, it would not be good for our relationship with the judiciary, and it certainly won't be good for this neighborhood.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that perspective. And do you have any information about the police academy potentially coming to Secaucus?
Well, we're ready to go, but at the former youth house out there, which is empty, we have some people in there now doing some basic types of work, putting a coat of paint on things, fixing things that need a repair, so that we can do it. But the election and the political machinations have put a little bit of a dent in that. The one thing that we will need when we build it is a commitment from the 12 towns that when they need officers to be trained, that they'll use the Hudson County training facility,
sure,
not go to Bergen County like they're doing now, or Union County there. And that would include the people that are under my umbrella, the corrections officers, the sheriff's officers too. We need a constant flow of cadets going in there in order for it to work. And right now, because of the political climate, I can't get that kind of guarantee. We convene meetings at the community college with asking all the mayors. Most of them, a few of them came, but the police chiefs came, and they were all very excited about it. But I've had to tell them we're going to cool our heels a little bit until the political climate, that we can work together. You can't do things in a vacuum, and that's one of the sins of the war that Stephen and Brian are starting here, that good ideas and good projects go by the wayside because there isn't a political, consensus that we can get it done. So right now, it's my judgment we can't, but we are doing some work in the building. It's in good shape. It has everything. All the cops said the same thing. It's perfect. The location, Mike Ganelli, the mayor of Secaucus, is willing to be the host community there. All the ducks were in a row until the poop hit the fan. That was good, right?
That's one way to put it, yes. You did the PG version. Oh. So, we're talking a lot about Mayor Fulop and Senator Stack, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you what you thought about Hoboken Mayor Bala and West New York Mayor Roque joining up with the team just probably minutes after the initial release went out. They jumped
within a half hour.
Yeah, very quick.
So those endorsements of my demise were also already in the back pocket, and I understand it. When Mayor Bala won his election, and I backed no one, I stayed out of the Hoboken race completely. Mm-hmm. I called him up the next day and said, "Congratulations, Mayor. I look forward to working with you." I took him for breakfast a couple days later down there, where we talked all things Hoboken. We didn't talk politics. We talked about some of the road things, some of the bridge conditions, some open space things that he wanted to do that maybe I can help him with. It went great. I brought him into this room with my entire staff of directors, the people I was talking about before. He brought his engineers and some people here, and we went over everything that they wanted to talk about, and he tasked us to try to do a few things. So I thought I was getting along great with this guy, an intelligent man and all that. So I was really surprised and shocked to see that Robbie did that. And not only did he do it without a phone call, without a phone call. That's one of the things, when I ran for mayor in 2001, I was chasing the endorsements of elected officials, just like, part of the job.
Standard procedure.
And I had a meeting with Bob Menendez, and about 2 weeks later, he called me up at home and said, Tom, he goes, if you can get elected mayor, and I think you'd be a really good mayor, I look forward to working you, but I can't back you, for the good of my party on a thing. And that was a lesson. Now, I didn't particularly like getting that at the time, but it was a lesson to me that if you got anything unpleasant to do it. Look somebody in the eye and tell them and explain why you did it or whatever, but don't come from the back, So I resented with both of those guys, Roque and Bala, that they didn't have the courtesy to give me a call, that they never did it. And I tried to call them, and they never returned the call, so I ain't calling no more, with it. But, I think the obvious cheap shot that you can throw out there is that Ravi got elected with 32% of the vote. I'll take the other 68. How about that?
Some solid election math.
Yeah, you can have those 32.
So now, on a final note, before we part ways here, Tom, obviously there's a teacher strike going on outside all over the streets of Jersey City. There was a very large one at the Board of Ed headquarters. Of course, you were a teacher. I know at least one of your daughters is a teacher. So, this is something that I'm sure has got your attention as well.
Very distressing. I was a teacher, and I was on strike several times. Last time being 1998, which was a very ugly strike, and they usually are. They end friendships. They are counterproductive to the parents and the kids whose lives are disrupted by the strikes. That said, there's an obligation by the Board of Education to bargain in good faith. I'm a member of the JCEA. My daughter is a vice president of a teachers union here. And, so I respect their right to take it to the streets if they feel they aren't getting a good part of the bargain. I think the restrictions that were put on during the Christie administration there as far as health benefits and stuff have caused teachers that are actually taking home less take-home pay than they did 5 years ago. And that's totally not fair. So I support the teachers and their right to strike. I would urge everybody to negotiate in good faith and remember the kids and the parents that are affected there. I could tell you, as a teacher who's been on strike, it's no fun. Teachers don't want to. They're fired up right now and carrying their placards and yelling, but nobody was looking forward to this. Nobody likes these kind of things. They're costly, and with me, there's always a handful of teachers that will cross the picket line there. And that leads to animosity between the staff members, the faculty there, that goes on for a lifetime. The teachers don't like it when they're outside not collecting their pay because they're fighting for their union's rights there, and other people walk by them and collect their salaries and they benefit from whatever the union is able to win. I've seen it happen. It's ugly, and I hope that it's very, very brief. They chose Friday today, to go out, and that leaves them 2 solid days before there's a school day on Monday. So I would hope they lock themselves in a room, we'll send in some coffee or something for them and come out of there with some kind of a deal.
Got it. So, Tom, anything else you wanted to add?
Oh, there's a ton. No, I just want, people that, are saying, there they go again, to realize we didn't do this. I didn't do this. I pride myself that I can get along with anybody. And I pride myself that my diplomacy is effective in bringing people together. And the proof of the pudding is we haven't had a fight in the last 10 years here. And now, because of the the selfish ambition of a couple of tin horn dictators here. We're marching into another bloody and costly battle that the public will perceive as the boys just misbehaving. But it isn't us this time, and it isn't me. You put the blame where it belongs.
Mr. Hudson County Executive Tom
Thanks,
DeGise,
John.
it was a
Thanks for
true
coming.
pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in again. We'll be back next week. Have a fantastic weekend.